Brown announces a large package for public sector workers in Budget 2018. Another reprieve for citizens and residents who are backed up on their utility services. While remittance flows decreased worldwide for a second consecutive year, remittances to Latin America and the Caribbean rose to a record high, and the U.S. president has threatened to halt aid to the Palestinians. Thank you so much to those of you joining us by radio, those tuning in on Facebook Live, via our app, and on our website, pointefmradio.com. Welcome, I am Phil George. Public sector workers will be given a 5% increase in their basic wages and salaries retroactive 1st January 2018 as a government team continues negotiating with unions representing employees on a possible further increase.
Nor is it an indication of the government's final offer as it relates to a wage increase. We will do more. Notwithstanding the challenges, we will do more. Because our ultimate objective is to improve the living standards of our people. I promised in 2017 that public servants would receive an increase in pay, and while the process for arriving at a negotiated rate may still be unfolding, I am determined to deliver on that promise. And as we say, promise made, promise kept. And this interim increase will take effect from January 1st, 2018. So you can look forward to a bigger check in a matter of weeks. Now, whatever rates are negotiated and agreed between the government and the unions, this 5% increase will be factored in as part of the final percentage adjustment that is to be made in the rates of pay.
No time frame has been set for salary negotiations to end, and the Prime Minister has revealed the process is time-consuming, with proposals being submitted by unions being carefully reviewed by the negotiating team. The 5% salary hike is just one of several initiatives announced for public servants. A housing grant and plans for a health insurance are among other offerings being made by the government.
There will be a housing grant of $10,000 for public servants to assist with the down payment and the purchase price of a home from National Housing and Urban Renewal Company. 2, vehicle concessions. Vehicle concessions will be given once every 5 years, beginning from the 28th of February, and public servants will receive 50 to 100% waiver of import duty on new and used vehicles. 3, home ownership. They will be given priority access to homes provided through National Housing, and priorities will be given to teachers, nurses, members of the Antigua and Barbuda Defense Force, the Office of National Drug and Control Policy, ONDCP, and the Royal Police Force of Antigua and Barbuda. Now, for those who do not wish to purchase a home from National Housing, a special window will be established through the Construct Antigua Barbuda initiative that will allow fast-track access to the incentives offered through this program. Additionally, public servants will be eligible to receive concessions on importation of household furnishings and major appliances to furnish their new homes. The government wants as many public servants as possible to take advantage of these empowering programs. Therefore, the Ministry of Finance has been tasked with articulating a simple procedure for straightforward access to these benefits and incentives.
Regarding back pay owed to public sector workers dating back to several years, the Prime Minister again cited financial constraints being experienced by the government and the work that will be involved in computing what is owed. As a result, he has proposed that every public servant who was employed with the government on 31st December 2002, he's proposing 1 month basic current salary free of deductions. Well, there's another reprieve that will be granted by the government to those whose utility services were disconnected for non-payment of bills. During the budget presentation, the Prime Minister acknowledged the difficulties some citizens and residents are experiencing, which in some instances lead to a disconnection of vital services due to their inability to pay. It is with that in mind, the Prime Minister revealed the government, in association with APUA, will grant the reprieve that will only be extended to households wiping the debts owed within a specific period.
You want everyone in this country to enjoy a good standard of living. We appreciate that there are many circumstances outside the control of low-income, vulnerable and single-parent households that can lead to non-payment of their bills. These families should not have to be deprived of a basic service indefinitely simply because of their socioeconomic circumstances. Consequently, my government will provide relief to households where arrears led to disconnection of their service. It is the correct thing to do. So, it is not only the correct thing to do, it is the human thing to do. It is the godly thing to do. Now, if as of December 31st, 2017, a household has been
Second time since taking office that the government is granting a reprieve to residents where their utilities are concerned. The first time the offer was extended was in 2014. All the Ministries of Education, Health, Justice and Legal Affairs, Works and Housing and Tourism have received the largest allocations in the 2018 budget. But it is the Ministry of Health that has received the lion's share, 106 million. Themed Rebuilding Together, Securing a Prosperous Nation, Prime Minister the Honourable Gaston Brown detailed that despite numerous challenges, the country has witnessed a dramatic improvement in the economy over the last 3.5 years, moving from an unsustainable fiscal position to one that is now sound.
In 2009, the debt to GDP ratio was a whopping 102%, and the average ratio was 93% for the period 2009 to 2013. Now, between 2014 and 2017, my government lowered that debt to GDP ratio to an average of 83%. But it gets better. When all the figures are compiled for 2017, it is expected that the debt to GDP ratio will be down to 75%. Now, Mr. Deputy Speaker, these are substantial accomplishments, especially as a significant portion of that debt was converted into ownership. Ownership by the people and for the people.
That is Prime Minister the Honourable Gaston Brown during today's budget presentation. In other news, several employees of Clearview Psychiatric Hospital moved their protest today to Queen Elizabeth Highway across from Parliament Building, hoping they claim to have members of Parliament take notice of their plight. The workers are adamant that there is much more to be done at the facility, even though some of their concerns were addressed. Today's picketers were mostly domestic aides through their representative Joan Peters of the Public Service Association. They are taking issue with the cleanliness of the facility.
The Prime Minister came and some of the things were addressed. The most important thing, which is the cleanliness of the place, is still outstanding. Public Works hasn't done anything at all in terms of doing the aspect of it. Right? They have sent people to look, and that is all is happening, looking. The people need proper cleaning agents and those kind of things. Those are the main issues. I mean, come on, it's unhealthy for human. Okay, let's take away from the workers. What happened to the patient? Are they important? They are important as well. And so we must look into those kind of aspects of things. I have reached out, and it seemingly is going on deaf ears, so we have moved, we have come. I hope the parliamentarians would see the workers here and realize it's more than what we are expecting, so they would come, make it their business to come. Maybe if they come and see, they'll understand that we're not making up a story.
Well, in a statement issued on Wednesday, the Ministry of Health disputed claims made by Peters that the health minister was disrespecting workers and ignoring their plight. The statement detailed that the Treasury has been approached in an attempt to expedite outstanding payments. Public Works, Central Board of Health and APUA have been enlisted in the drive to improve the physical infrastructure and environmental health conditions, key demands of both the striking workers and nurses. And the ministry officials have reached out to local merchants to source essential equipment necessary for the effective operation and maintenance of Clearview. To date, the striking auxiliary staff has received their overtime and risk allowance paid up to the end of October 2017. The outstanding monies for November and December 2017, as well as payment for uniforms, are expected to be paid shortly, according to the Ministry of Health. The statement outlined that work to improve environmental health and safety and security is ongoing. The surrounding grass has been cut and a maintenance schedule established. Vector control operations have increased and work is currently being carried out to upgrade the toilets, bathroom, lighting and plumbing facilities. Well, there is a reaction this evening from...
And do not be fooled by the rhetoric. The devil, as they say, is in the details. And I believe the presentation itself will be available online as well as the budget estimates. And I'm just urging those who are able to sit and dissect those numbers.
Messiah is expressing concern that the Ministry of Agriculture, which should be viewed as critical to the economy, was not allocated a larger amount of money.
I've never heard the Prime Minister speak so glowingly about agriculture, yet a budget allocation of less than 20 million, which really will go to wages and salaries. How are we going to drive this sector to become more of a contributory industry to this country, to provide meaningful jobs in the value-added chain of primary production? I hear all sorts of things, wonderful things planned for the ICT sector, yet a budget allocation of less than 20 million. What and how are we going to develop these things?
Oh, that's the leader of the DNA and Member of Parliament, the Honourable Joanne Messiah. Well, as previously mentioned, the Ministries of Education, Health, Justice and Legal Affairs, Works and Housing and Tourism have received the largest allocations in the 2018 budget. But it is the Ministry of Health that has received the lion's share, 106 million. Themed the Rebuilding Together, Securing a Prosperous Nation, Prime Minister the Honourable Gaston Brown detailed that despite numerous challenges, the country has witnessed a dramatic improvement in the economy over the last 3.5 years, moving from an unsustainable fiscal position to one that is now sound. Savings and foreign currency deposits increased by 133.4 million, demonstrating that monies were earned that could be saved or invested, he said. There was a 20.7% increase in the net foreign assets of the banking system, demonstrating that banks are far healthier than they were when his government came to office in 2014. He noted that per capita GDP has increased by $9,000 per head from about $36,000 in 2013 to an estimated $45,000 in 2017. All evidence, according to the Minister of Finance, that the country is on a sound footing.
I am aware that the per capita income is uneven, and my government will tackle the problem of skewed income distribution robustly in this and future budgets. But the point is that increased per capita GDP means that generally more money has been generated for spending and savings, and this has led both to security for existing employment and the creation of new jobs. Mr. Speaker, it is a significant feat that the GDP of Antigua and Barbuda surpassed the $4 billion mark in 2017, the year that our nation was hit by the largest storm in the recorded history of the Caribbean. That is an impressive feat.
Looking ahead, the Prime Minister is predicting a bumper year for Antigua and Barbuda as public and private sector investments unfold.
In 2018, the government will focus on the following priorities. 1. Building a strong tourism industry to anchor our economy. 2. Entrepreneurial development. 3. Improving agriculture to ensure food security and food sovereignty. 4. Renewing and upgrading critical infrastructure. 5. Providing better access to adequate housing. 6. Improving energy security. 7. Social development. Very important. And the overall advancement of our country. Now, building a strong tourism industry to anchor our economy is very important. Let me begin, Mr. Speaker, by speaking to the vibrant tourism industry that will facilitate spin-off economic activity through the provision of ancillary services. So we must expand our current room stock and reinvigorate those parts of our tourism plan which have aged. This is something that has not happened for decades. In 2018, many new hotels will be under construction.
That's Prime Minister the Honorable Gaston Brown. The time in Antigua. Developments from across the region. While remittance flows decreased worldwide for a second consecutive year in 2016, remittances to Latin America and the Caribbean, however, rose to a record high. This is based on recently released data from the World Bank. In analyzing the figures, the Pew Research Center, a nonpartisan American think tank based in Washington, reported that globally, migrants sent an estimated $574 billion to their home countries in 2016, a 1.4% drop from 2015. But in Latin America and the Caribbean, together making up a region where many people say economic conditions are bad, remittances rose to $74.3 billion, a 7.4% increase from the previous year, according to the Pew Research Center. It said Europe was the only other region in the world to see an increase, and it was a much smaller one, 0.9%. Remittances are funds or other assets sent by migrants via formal channels such as banks. It said the increase in remittances to the region is primarily due to general improved labor market conditions in the United States, which has helped boost migrants' capacity to send money home. Among Latin America and Caribbean countries, Mexico has long received the highest amount of remittances, the center said. In 2016, it said $28.6 billion in remittances flowed to Mexico, up 9.3% from the previous year, a total that accounted for over a third of remittances to all of Latin America and the Caribbean. After Mexico, Guatemala, $7.5 billion, the Dominican Republic, $5.5 billion, and Colombia, $4.9 billion received the highest amounts of remittances in the Latin America and Caribbean region in 2016. The fall in gold declarations in Guyana for the year 2017 and the sector's overall lethargic performance will see the country's growth rate revised downwards. Finance Minister Winston Jordan said that Guyana recorded some 653,754 ounces of gold in 2017, which indicates that gold declarations fell short of the projected 720,000 ounces. According to the finance minister, it will have an impact on the growth, with both sugar and gold not coming in on target. It means they will have to revise last year's growth rate even further, and it will put some strain on the growth for 2018. Sugar output in Guyana fell by nearly a quarter from last year, with close to 140,000 metric tons being produced in 2017, which is the lowest in 27 years. The decline happened at a time when the Guyana Sugar Corporation has fired over 4,500 of its workers as it prepares to permanently close 3 of its 6 estates. Failing to meet the revised growth projection of 3.1% for 2017, Jordan said the economy was expected to grow by 2.9%. The initial projected growth of the economy was 3.8%, but it was revised by mid-year to 3.1% after the economy only grew by 2.2% in July of 2017. Turning now to developments internationally, U.S. President Donald Trump has threatened to halt aid to the Palestinians if they do not agree to take part in peace talks. The State Department confirmed he was talking about aid for economic and security assistance. Mr. Trump accused the Palestinians of disrespecting the United States and said, why should they do something for them when they do nothing for the United States? The Palestinians have rejected the United States as a neutral broker in peace talks. They are furious at Washington's controversial decision in December to recognize Jerusalem as the capital of Israel. Former Palestinian negotiator Saeb Erekat said of the U.S. president's latest comments that Trump could buy many things with his money, but he won't be able to buy the dignity of their nation. Speaking at the World Economic Forum in Davos in Switzerland, Mr. Trump said the United States gives the Palestinians hundreds of millions of dollars in aid and support a year. He chastised the Palestinian leadership for disrespecting Vice President Mike Pence by refusing to meet with him in the region earlier in the week, and he would fundamentally alter ideas of recent human evolution. He said they have to rewrite the entire story of human evolution, not just for their own species, but all the other species that live outside of Africa at the time. Professor Chris Stringer of London's Natural History Museum, who was not involved in the study, said the find breaks the long-established 130,000-year-old limit on modern humans outside of Africa. The new scientific dating evidence raises the possibility that modern humans interacted with other now extinct species of humans for tens of thousands of years. It also fits in with recent discoveries of remains and genetic studies that also indicate an earlier departure from Africa. The researchers analyzed a fragment of a jawbone with 8 teeth found in Mycelia Cave in 2002. The jawbone looked as if it was from a modern human rather than from one of the other species of human that existed at the time. It is only now that an international research team has conclusively shown that the archaeologists' initial gut feelings were spot on. That's a wrap on regional and international developments. Stay tuned. The weather report is next.
From Antigua and Barbuda and its coastal waters are 10 nautical miles, and this is valid up to 8 p.m. tomorrow, Friday the 26th of January 2018. A weak trough with accompanying moisture and instability will increase the chance of showers over the islands tomorrow. Therefore, skies over Antigua and Barbuda tonight will be partly cloudy with a moderate or 40% chance of showers. Come tomorrow, skies will be cloudy to overcast with a very high or 80% chance of showers. The winds will blow out of the northeast at 22 to 30 kilometers per hour or 12 to 16 knots over land, and increasing at times to near 33 kilometers per hour or 18 knots over coastal waters. Seas will be moderate to locally rough, heights ranging between 1.5 to 2.1 meters or 5 to 7 feet. Small craft operators and sea bathers should continue to exercise caution against marginally safe seas. Rainfall collected at the airport so far for the month of January up to 2 o'clock this afternoon stood at 37.9 millimeters or 1.49 inches. The temperature high recorded for today was 28 degrees Celsius or 82 degrees Fahrenheit. A similar high of 28 degrees Celsius is expected for tomorrow. The overnight low will be 23 degrees Celsius or 73 degrees Fahrenheit. Sunrise time tomorrow will be at 6:39, while sunset time will be at 6:01. I'm Lawrence Salmon reporting from the Antigua and Barbuda Met Service.
The weather report has brought us to the end of Point FM's nightly news for Thursday, 25th January 2018. Just before we go, a recap of the headlines that made the news. No new taxes in budget 2018. Government announces a 5% pay increase and a series of incentives for public servants. A second reprieve is being granted to those whose utilities have been disconnected. Government announces in budget 2018 it will clear the debt. Within the region, while remittance flows decreased worldwide for a second consecutive year in 2016, remittances to Latin America and the Caribbean rose to a record high. And the U.S. president has threatened to halt aid to the Palestinians if they do not agree to take part in peace talks. We thank you so much for joining us this Thursday evening. On behalf of all of us here at Point FM, I am Phil George wishing you a pleasant evening, and do make sure you join me again tomorrow for another presentation. Stay locked to Point FM.
Broadcasting from the Point community, you're listening to Point FM 99.1.